When
You have the choice. Whether it's going out to dinner or ordering takeout at a local restaurant or buying that new outfit from a local boutique, those choices help to put money back into your community. Town Square Media South Jersey proudly puts a spotlight on local businesses.
Smokers Haven. Visit smokershavennj.com for a full line of fine tobacco and accessories. Dr. Lyle M. Back. For everything from skincare to cosmetic surgery, go to ilovelylback.com. Kindle Auto Plaza, the area's best selection of Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Wagoneer. Off exit 10 on the Parkway on Stone Harbor Boulevard. Call 609-465-5000 or KindleAutoplaza.com. Philly Marble and the Philly Marble and Tile Outlet. Philadelphia Avenue and Route 30 in Egg Harbor City. Visit PhillyMarble.com. And Ambient Comfort Heating and Cooling Professionals. AmbientComfortNJ.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses from Town Square Media South Jersey.
Home of the Philadelphia Eagles.
Thank God I'm a kid!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Just in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey.
Josh Hennick here on 97.3 ESPN. Glad to have you guys on board the show today. We got a busy hour, so let's get right into it. Dave Weinberg will join me for a Weinberg Wednesday coming up in about 15 minutes from now. Also, Andy McNamara will get into some NFL, the midweek point, some fantasy football here. But we got a lot to get to. Let's get into it because the Eagles have a very interesting game this Sunday. I want to do my first look at this Sunday because we are now basically at the halfway point of the season. And at the halfway point of the season, if you use the Bill Parcells idea, right, the saying, you are who your record says you is. Well, who are the Eagles? Well, the Eagles are 6-2. And there are only two teams in the NFL with more wins, in the NFC, I should say, more wins than they have. That being the Washington Commanders and the Detroit Lions. So, by that measure, the Philadelphia Eagles, by that measure, would be one of the best teams in the NFC. But yet, we don't treat them like they are one of the best teams in the NFC. We don't have a lot of people who look at them through those lenses. And a lot of it obviously has to do with Nick Sirianni. But if we're being fair, okay? We're being realistic. How many head coaches in the NFL do we think are really better than Nick Sirianni? Because we've already had two head coaches fired this year. Robert Saleh with the Jets and Dennis Allen with the Saints. So if we're not going to believe in the Eagles, and for some of you out there who have texted throughout this week at 609-403-0973, sending your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. For many of you out there, you perceive the Philadelphia Eagles as a team that is not good enough. And the largest reason for that belief is because of the head coach. So I will ask you, and you guys can tell me if I'm wrong in this. Is Dan Quinn a better head coach than Nick Sirianni? Both Sirianni and Dan Quinn have led teams to a Super Bowl appearance. Both head coaches had leads in said Super Bowls. They both lost those Super Bowls. Dan Quinn had a level of success with the Atlanta Falcons and now with Washington as head coach. His team has one more win on the year. Now, they played one more game than the Eagles, so that kind of fudges the numbers a little bit. But is Dan Quinn better than Nick Sirianni? That's the first guy. Then you have Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell has never led a team beyond the NFC Championship game. But he has been successful with the rebuild in Detroit. I think Dan Campbell's biggest resume element is the fact that he oversaw a major turnover in Detroit from being one of the laughingstocks of the NFL to a perennial winning football team over the last 3 seasons. So, who is better? Nick Sirianni or Dan Campbell? And we can do the same game with the Minnesota Vikings, Kevin O'Connell. We can do the same with Matt LaFleur of the Green Bay Packers, or Raheem Morris of the Falcons, or Todd Bowles in Tampa, or Jonathan Gannon with the Cardinals, Sean McVay of the Rams, Kyle Shanahan with the 49ers. In fact, if you go through all of the NFC head coaches, there is only one. I feel like I'm playing Highlander here. There is only one. Those of you of a certain age will get that reference. For the rest of you, I'm sorry. Go use the internet. But I feel like this is Highlander. There's only one who has won a Super Bowl of all the NFC head coaches, and that's Sean McVay. Kyle Shanahan has lost the big game twice. Todd Bowles was a defensive coordinator when Tampa won it. Raheem Morris was a defensive coordinator with the Rams when they won, with Sean McVay, by the way. Matt LaFleur has never gotten past the NFC Championship game like Dan Campbell. And as I mentioned earlier, Dan Quinn lost. Now, there is that one other guy that we're not talking about, but his team has a losing record. That being Mike McCarthy. So we can throw him into the conversation. Would you rather have Mike McCarthy over Nick Sirianni? And I think that is where the context lies. You can sit there and complain about Nick Sirianni all you want. But I fall back onto this way of thinking. If Nick Sirianni is the problem, but you are theoretically the second or third best team in the NFC, who would be a better coach for this team? 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Jeff from Ocean City chimes in. He says, Josh, I'm really excited about this Eagles team to see how far they can go. I'm still a bit scared of the end of the season collapse from last year. That's from Jeff in Ocean City. I think the collapse from last year is always going to be a little bit of a lingering trauma for many Eagle fans. And the reason why it's always going to be a lingering trauma is because until you get far enough away from that happening, it's always going to be kind of stuck in the back of your mind. It's always going to be hanging around in your subconscious that what if, what could, what. So I totally understand. I don't think that is a wrong way of looking at it. But I'll just say that I think the reason why the Eagles had the collapse wasn't specifically because of Nick Sirianni. Now, if you want to blame Sirianni for firing Desai and giving Patricia the play calling duties on defense, all right, we can have that conversation. If you want to blame Jalen Hurts and the Eagles' offense for becoming too predictable with Brian Johnson, who was supposedly running Nick Sirianni's offense, we can do that. But I think, as I said before, unless you can clearly find me a head coach better than Sirianni, then how is Sirianni the problem? Now, Dan from EHC has another perspective at 609-403-0973. Dan EHC with the last say before we hit the commercial break, and that is, he says, last year's collapse was because of the Super Bowl hangover more than anything else. Now, that's another perspective. Did the Eagles just run out of steam last year? And they were never destined to go back to the Super Bowl. It's very hard to go back-to-back years. An NFC team has not returned to the Super Bowl a year after losing it in over 40 years. Talk more some football coming up. Dave Weinberg for a Weinberg Wednesday on the other side. Plus, Andy McNamara will join us coming up at 6:40 tonight. Plus, more of your texts and comments on the text board. Keep them coming. 609-403-0973. And your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
This is South Jersey's official home for Philadelphia Eagles football. The Eagles continue the 2024 season this Sunday in Dallas against their NFC East rival Cowboys.
Let's pass another, leaps over a third, and cuts down at the 30. What was that?
Listen to all the action with Merrill Reese and Mike Quick with pregame coverage starting at 3 p.m. and kickoff at 4:25. This is the play-by-play home of the Philadelphia Eagles. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
Breaking news, and this one is almost unbelievable.
Yeah, it's all about new customers at Bet365 because they get $150 in bonus bets when they bet $5. And even better, bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, and player props.
There you have it. Bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets. And see why. It's never ordinary at Bet365. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus only. Must be physically located in New Jersey. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues? Who are you? Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
It's the time of year for killer deals. You've had your eye on some hot new wheels. We want to pay off your loan or lease and tell your old car to rust in peace.
Get to Matt Blatt Kia today. Buried in a loan or lease? Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released and treat yourself to 0 down, 0 payments until next year. Even 0% after 72 months on every clearly marked new Matt Blatt Kia in stock. You won't need a costume to get a brand new Matt Blatt Kia Forte LXS under 20 grand. That's right, a brand new Kia, just $19,999 with any trade. That's less than most used vehicles.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
With 24 EV9 and 6, $1388 per thousand. Not all will qualify. Credit may affect down payments. Offers can't be combined. Go to MattBlattKiaNJ.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes. Through AMF, rebate and incentives to dealer. Expires 10/31/24.
Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and on Route 37 in Toms River.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. The Sixers on the road tonight as they're in Los Angeles to take on the Clippers, looking to snap a 3-game losing skid after falling to the Suns in Phoenix on Monday. Joel Embiid, who has yet to play this season, suspended 3 games by the league for shoving a columnist on Saturday. With the suspension, Embiid is scheduled to return on Tuesday against the Knicks. The Flyers staying on the road Thursday. They'll be in Tampa to take on the Lightning. This will be the second of a 3-game road trip. Philadelphia fell to the Carolina Hurricanes in Raleigh Tuesday night 6-4 as the Canes put up 2 goals in the final minute to secure the win, and the Flyers have dropped back-to-back games. NFL Week 10, the Eagles will be in Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Philadelphia at 6-2, riding a 4-game win streak. They're a half game behind the Washington Commanders in the NFC East. Dallas at 3-5, they've lost 3 in a row, and quarterback Dak Prescott has been put on the injured reserve with a hamstring injury. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
Healthier starts here with Get Covered New Jersey. Get quality, affordable health coverage. 9 in 10 get financial help to lower costs, and many pay $10 a month or less. Enroll at getcovered.nj.gov.
Weather's beautiful. November weather continues here in South Jersey. Hey, I'm Joe Kelly. Here's your South Jersey weather forecast. As we head into the night tonight, partly to mostly cloudy sky, a low temperature 61. Tomorrow, yet another beautiful day in South Jersey. Some clouds with a high temperature of 78. As of right now, the earliest chance of rain here in South Jersey doesn't happen till maybe, and that's a big maybe, Monday morning. That's your South Jersey weather forecast. I'm Joe Kelly.
You have the choice. Whether it's going out to dinner or ordering takeout at a local restaurant or buying that new outfit from a local boutique, those choices help to put money back into your community. Town Square Media South Jersey proudly puts a spotlight on local businesses.
Broadlee's, your trusted source for heating and plumbing service and installation for generations. Call 609-390-3907 or visit broadlees.net. Manhattan Bagel. Looking for a quick snack or a full meal? Easy to use menu, customize how you'd like. Place your order and sit back. ManhattanBagel.com has you covered. Start fresh, fast, order online for pickup and delivery. And Kindle Auto Plaza, the area's best selection of Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Wagoneer. Off exit 10 on the Parkway on Stone Harbor Boulevard. Call 609-465-5000 or KindleAutoplaza.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses from Town Square Media South Jersey.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We'll check back at the text board a little bit later at 609-403-0973. But right now, joining us as promised, Dave Weinberg for another Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN. And there's nothing more surprising than Dave Weinberg wearing summer colors on a day like today. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing well, Josh. Back at the usual stop at Gusto, taking a break from trivia to talk to you.
I appreciate that. Yeah, crazy weather day, right? I mean,
my goodness. I was at the beach today. It was awesome. Yeah.
Of course you were. That does not surprise me one bit. But let's talk about the Eagles, Dave, because the Eagles have one of the best records in the NFC, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're 6-2. You know, you have the contingent out there. I like to keep bringing up. Yeah, they could have been 7-1, but they're 6-2. Okay, they're 6-2. They are what they are. But Bill Parcells would say, Dave, you are what your record says you are.
Mm-hmm.
So for you, Dave Weinberg, what does the Eagles' 6-2 record say about them?
It says that when they're playing well, they're one of the best teams. There's been a little bit of luck involved along the way, but when you have good seasons, luck is usually involved. So it's kind of what their record says. They are what their record says, I guess. I'm still waiting for them to really hit their peak against a good team. I mean, they did what they had to do. They beat up four relatively weaker teams on paper anyway. So now comes the tougher part of the schedule. So I'm interested to see how they make out there.
So I made a comment on Monday's show, and I wanted to bring it up to you here, Dave, because, you know, there are a lot of people who didn't want to hear this. And I got some pushback from people when I said that I think the number one person that I blamed coming out of the game on Sunday was Vic Fangio. I mean, how on earth do you have a 22-0 lead and your defense allows the other team to score 2 touchdowns? I know the one touchdown, that was a turnover by Barkley. Fine. I'll remove that one out of the conversation, right? But still, you have a 22-0 lead. How on earth do you allow them back into the game, Vic Fangio?
That's an interesting point of view. I haven't heard anybody blame him yet. You're the first. So, but yeah, when you think about it, you're right. I mean, if the defense just does the job they did in the first half, allowing 31 total yards, I think, and
Yeah.
no points, then they don't have to worry about a comeback. I mean, I thought you were going to say Nick Sirianni, which I and most people are doing, but for his questionable decisions. But yeah, Vic definitely has some blame in that. There's no question about it.
See, my thing with Sirianni is, and listen, I'm not saying the guy doesn't deserve any blame. Okay, I'm not one of those people, but I will say to Sirianni, even after Sunday, the team is converting on 65% of their fourth down attempts, which is among the best in the NFL. And before Sunday, they were perfect on 2-point conversions. So it's like, do you look at Sunday and say it's an anomaly with Sirianni? Do you just say that he had a bad day at the office? Whereas Fangio, this isn't the first time the team has had a significant lead, and all of a sudden the team come crawling back into the game. And I feel like, Dave, I want Fangio to be good. I want this defense to be good. And it's like the inverse of The Godfather with Al Pacino. Instead of pulling me back in, he just keeps pushing me away.
I'm one of the few people on earth that's never seen The Godfather, so I don't know.
Oh wow, okay.
I don't get the reference. I know I get flack. I got flack about it all the time from my buddies.
Wow. All right.
Never saw Godfather 2. Never saw Goodfellas. Yeah.
Well, there's a scene.
Famous Casino, so that's
yeah.
right.
Well, the scene, just to give you the synopsis, Al Pacino his character is now older in the trilogy, and he says, every time I keep trying to get out of the family business, they keep pulling me back in. He's standing in his kitchen in an old man robe. Because at the time, Pacino, I think, would have been maybe in his late 20s, early 30s. They did a great job with the makeup, making him look older. So. Yeah. But the premise was that he was supposed to be retired from the business, and they keep pulling him back in. So what I'm saying is that I'm the opposite. I want you to pull me back in, but you're pushing me out the door.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see how this defense does against the better offenses, say the Rams or the Ravens, teams that are really capable of putting a lot of points on the board, really have a lot of weapons around them. Then you're going to get a more accurate idea of how good this defense is, or their weaknesses, I guess, or they might get exposed in some areas. But yeah, I understand. I get your point. I mean, they shouldn't have taken their foot off the gas pedal, so to speak, and keep the pressure on Trevor Lawrence, make him make some mistakes, and then continue on from there. But instead, like you said, they kind of eased up a little bit. I don't know if that was intentional or just the nature of the flow of the game. But yeah, there's no question they should have put that team away when they had the chance, and they didn't do it.
Great point there from Dave Weinberg. Join us for a Weinberg Wednesday here on 97.3 ESPN. Back-to-back weeks, road games at the Los Angeles Rams, at the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, I'm not saying there's scheduled losses, but as of right now, Dave, I have trouble seeing them win either of those games, because it's not that I don't think the offense can score. I mean, obviously the offense can score. They're averaging over 28 points per game since the bye week.
Right.
I just don't understand how a team has a lead and you let teams back in. And you brought it up. The Rams and the Ravens are much better offenses than teams like Jacksonville or the Atlanta Falcons.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of firepower on those offenses, and the defense is really going to be tested. Like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle it. I mean, it's one thing to shut down Jacksonville or I don't know Cleveland, say, or one of those teams, but it's another to when you're facing a top level team. You're not going to get an accurate idea this week with the Cowboys are so banged up in such disarray that the Eagles should probably take care of business rather easily, although the rivalry suggests otherwise, but you never know, of course. But it's good, if they do the same thing they did against Jacksonville, though, that's more of an indictment on the defense. If they should be able to put the Cowboys away relatively early and keep the pressure on. But if they let Dallas back in it, I'm not sure they're going to be able to flip the switch that quickly against the Rams and the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, that's my only concern about the game on Sunday, Dave, is that yes, there's no Dak Prescott out there. Yes, Dallas is a very banged up, injured team on both sides of the ball. But come on, let's be realistic. I mean, it's not like Cooper Rush is Ben DiNucci. He is at least better than that. And, veteran quarterbacks, sometimes you underestimate them and they can surprise you a little bit, right? So, you don't want to go in there and say, oh, we got this game. No, you got to go in there and, like you said earlier, put your foot on the pedal and go full throttle for the whole 4 quarters.
You would think you would do it just because it's the Cowboys, and the rivalry, like I mentioned, is so spirited and so intense that maybe that'll bring out more in the Eagles defense and offense, for that matter, that you'd be seeing in some of the other games. Against AFC opponents, nobody really has a big rivalry going there, so you're just trying to get a win however you can get it. But NFC East games are a different animal, and it's going to be I'm curious to see how the Eagles respond to it.
Yeah, what's crazy is that you look at the Eagles' schedule this year, and they're undefeated against the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
All their losses have come in the NFC.
Right.
And it's like, well, come on, guys. The only tiebreaker that matters is the NFC. Like, you got to win these conference games.
That's a good point, yeah.
These are what the tiebreakers are, because as of right now, you got 2 losses in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
And, if push comes to shove, because, if I remember correctly, the Falcons are 6-3 on the year. Well, if you and the Falcons both win your divisions, Dave, and you both finish with the same record, well, guess who holds the tiebreaker now?
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think of that. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's nice to beat up on the AFC when you can. Although I think the Ravens and the Steelers might have something to say about that, later in the year here. But you have to win your conference games, your division games, and your conference games in order to build that momentum and get, like you said, get the advantage in any tiebreakers that may come into play at the end of the year. And they haven't done that so far.
I did want to ask you about something else with the Eagles that happened today. Dave Weinberg joining us for a Weinberg Wednesday Extra Point columns over at 97.3ESPN.com. So today, Jalen Hurts didn't practice today. Apparently it was a rest day for him. And
load management, is it?
Yeah, load management, exactly. But what happened was at the press conference, they asked him about it, and he sounded like the most miserable person when he answered this, Dave. He says, I just do what I'm told. Like, the guy literally is at the press conference telling the media basically to go bleep themselves for asking him about why he didn't practice today.
Wow. Okay. It seems like the relationship between the media and the athletes isn't the best in Philadelphia at the moment, is it?
No, it's not.
But I can kind of see his point about wanting to practice. I mean, especially this week. I mean, Wednesdays and Thursdays are usually the day when you're really like trying to install things and get ready for the upcoming opponent. Friday's generally a walkthrough, so it's interesting that they've given today off. I guess they just have, especially the quarterback. I can see if you want to give, I don't know, the cornerback or off, or I don't know, linebacker or what have you. But to have the quarterback take a day off, that's a little odd to me.
Yeah, I don't understand that at all. Like, even if you don't want him to throw a bunch, just let him do some reps.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, let him.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah, let him go through. What do they call the mental reps, where you just stand back there and you fake the throw or whatever. Like, you can still be out there and doing some stuff. Meanwhile, the good. Go ahead. Yeah.
I wonder if there's more to it. That maybe he's beat up a little bit. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe they're thinking that because they have a game next Thursday, they're trying to cut down on the amount of practices.
That could be too, I guess. Yeah.
I don't know. AJ Brown's back out there. He was practicing today.
Right. If you're going to give somebody else, maybe give it to him. Yeah.
The only guys who didn't practice today, Devonta Smith is hamstring/rest. It's like, all right. Nolan Smith, groin/rest. The only significant guy who didn't practice today, Dave, is Ben Van Sumeren because he's in concussion protocol. So, I mean, that makes sense, right? But the other guys, it's like everyone else is doing stuff, and Jalen Hurts is resting because, as Jalen Hurts puts it, I was told to.
That's bizarre, honestly. Now that I think about it, why would you give your quarterback the day off? That doesn't make any sense to me.
And I think that's where, for Dave, I think a lot of the fans, there is a disconnect with this team because it's not one situation. It's not one person. It's not, it's the, as Jason Kelsey would say, it's the whole team, right? It's the fact that, like, I genuinely believe, Dave, I don't think fans really hate Sirianni. I think they're just tired of everything.
Yeah, I mean, I would maybe have given Barkley a day off. You know.
By the way, Saquon Barkley, 3rd Offensive Player of the Week award. He's only the 2nd Eagle to ever do that.
Who was the first? I'm just curious. Do you know?
Let
me guess. Who, McNabb?
It wasn't McNabb, but you got the position correct.
Michael Vick, Nick Foles. I don't know. Randall.
It was my. Well, your first guess was right. Michael Vick, 2010.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He had a special year that year, definitely. Yeah. Oh, how about that? Okay. Yeah. I mean, that doesn't. Yeah. If you're gonna, I mean, the worry about Barkley is you're going to overuse him and he's going to wear down at the end of the year. So if you have an opportunity to give him a rest, I would definitely take it. That's a little strange that you would give Hurts the day off and not make Barkley get out there and do stuff. But you're right about the disconnect too. I mean, I don't. They just fans want to like them, but there's just something there that prevents them from doing it. I don't know what it is. I personally, I have a hard time warming up to Sirianni just because of his personality and his actions. He just doesn't act like a head coach that I'm used to seeing act. And I don't know, maybe the fans feel the same way. I'm not sure. But I mean, there's no arguing his success, you know, most of the time. So I guess you got to learn to love it.
Yeah, if Sirianni wins on Sunday, he will be 41-19. It goes down as one of the best 60-game starts to a coaching career in NFL history. He'll be tied with Sean McVay, another head coach who lost a Super Bowl in the 2nd year of coaching.
Right. Yeah. Huh.
Read into that what you will.
Right. I didn't realize he was that successful. Yeah, I guess he is though when I think about it. Yeah.
Yeah, give me a second. I'm going to pull up the full list because I had this for my notes yesterday. Here it is. So, here's the list of coaches who have the best starts to a coaching career in NFL history. Now, number 1 is George Seifert, but he was basically handed the keys to the kingdom by Bill Walsh. So I don't think he should even count, right?
Right.
Chuck Knox is number 2 at 46-13-1. What a drop off the end of his career, right?
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 is Don Shula. No explanation needed.
Right.
Don Shula was 43-16-1 to start his coaching career. George Allen was 43-14-3. The fact that George Allen had 3 ties in there is hilarious to me.
Yeah.
Matt LaFleur was 43-17 to start his career. By the way, never gotten past the NFC Championship game. Matt LaFleur.
Yeah, that name surprises me a little bit that he would be in that list.
And then finally, it's Sean McVay, 41-19. So if Sirianni wins on Sunday, he joins Sean McVay with those coaches with at least 40 wins in their first 60 games.
And how many of those coaches were like almost fired after a year and people were calling for their head during a bye week?
None of them.
Right.
It just goes to show you, Dave, that some people just self-sabotage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, if Sirianni doesn't put his kids out in front of the media that one day, if Sirianni just doesn't say these weird things at press conferences, right?
Or talk trash to the fans, or talk trash to another player, or get an altercation that the security guard's got to get involved. Yeah,
pick and choose which situation you want. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If he doesn't do any of those things, I love, really quick before I let you go, Chris Long said this on his podcast, and you covered Chris Long when he was with the Eagles. So
he built the shrine to Nick Foles. Yep.
Right. So you might get a chuckle out of this. This is how Chris Long says he describes Nick Sirianni's coaching.
I'm going to tell my grandkids about Nick Sirianni one day. Seriously, I'm going to be sitting at the table and be like, you should have seen him. He was like, if they grabbed somebody out of the stands, 6 Miller Lights deep, it was like, go coach your heart out, dude. And I'm talking about the good with the bad.
I mean,
That's not entirely inaccurate. Yeah.
I mean, is that not what Nick Sirianni is? He basically is a fan who is just so into the game. He has no foresight beyond it.
That was perfect. That was a perfect description. Yep.
I mean, who knows? Maybe Sirianni needs to be six beers deep in order to
Yeah, there you go. Maybe it'll take some pressure off. Yeah.
take the edge off, you know?
Yep. Yep.
He's Dave Weinberg. Speaking of beer, he's over at Gusto Brewing for their trivia night. And he joins us each and every week here on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, always appreciate you jumping on for the conversation. We'll talk again soon.
My pleasure, Josh. Appreciate it as always. I'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Josh Hennick here on 97.3 ESPN. Coming up on the other side, more of your text at 609-403-0973. Yeah, you're right, by the way. Texter said that Pacino was 50 by the time that trilogy came out. I didn't realize Pacino was that old when that movie came out, because it came out in 1990, Godfather 3. But the movie definitely leaned into him being older, especially in that film, because of I didn't realize there was that much of a gap of time between Godfather 2 and Godfather 3, because if you look at the trilogy movies, there was a serious lapse in time between some of the films. So I think that was interesting that when you look back on those movies, you mentally think of the Godfather trilogy like in today's standards. Like in today's standards, if there's a trilogy of movies, like Keanu Reeves and John Wick, or, the fact that there's been 11 Fast and Furious movies and they all have happened basically in a 22-year period, right? So it's like in your mind, you think in today's reference that trilogies and sequels, they all happen within a certain number of years. But yet you look back on the Godfather trilogy and you realize that there was a bit of gap in time between the second movie and the third movie. And I think in my mind, I didn't fully piece that together, right? Because so if Godfather 3 came out in 1990, Godfather 2 came out in 74. So that's a 16-year gap between the second and the third movie. That's just nuts. Never would have guessed that. It's a good poll by the texter there. Didn't leave their name, but still going to give him credit. All right. Coming up next, Andy McNamara joins me, plus more of your texts here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Josh Hennick hanging out with you on a Wednesday night.
Ian Eagle here from Thursday Night Football on Westwood One. Devin McCourty and I will bring you AFC North action to start Week 10 when the Ravens host the Bengals. Both scored 41 points in huge wins last week. Now, Joe Burrow and Cincinnati hope to get back to 500 with a division win, while Lamar Jackson and Baltimore eye a move to 7-3. Join us on Thursday Night Football.
Listen to Thursday Night Football. Coverage begins at 7:30 on 97.3 ESPN.
Tired of hearing no? Everywhere you go, we turn no into go during Matt Blatt Nissan's November sales event. Say no to high-priced new cars. Brand new Matt Blatt Nissan Sentra S, just $19,999. Say no to low trade offers. AJ the Trade Man wants your trade, no matter the make, miles, or condition. Say no to down payments. Say no to payments for 90 days. And say no to high interest rates. 60 months, 0% financing on every clearly marked new Nissan. Backed by Matt Blatt's 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Tired of hearing no to a discount on a new ride? New 25 Sentra S, under 20 grand.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
Approved Tier 1 credit for NEMAC. Negative equity finance. VIN number SY231649. MSRP 22,730 plus tax tag at $689.98. Offers can't be combined. 0% for 60 months. Call 877-289-6667 or go to MattBlattNissan.com for complete details. Offer ends 12/5/24.
It's on Matt Blatt Nissan, the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
You've got a Pepto predicament, moviegoer.
Hey, I can hear your stomach grumbling.
Sorry, I ate that entire tub of popcorn with extra butter.
You overdid it, and now your movie has turned into a blockbuster bellyache. Undo it with Pepto.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Pepto Chewables provide fast 5-symptom relief, so you can focus on the action on the big screen instead of in your stomach. When you overdo it, undo it with Pepto. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
The holidays are here at the Home Depot. If you're working on getting ready for company,
A lot of company.
make sure you're ready with Black Friday savings. Get up to 40% off select appliances, plus up to an extra $1,000 off select kitchen appliances. Upgrade your kitchen with top brands like GE Profile and get sleek cutting-edge appliances to make sure you
Got hosting handled.
Yeah, you do. Get Black Friday savings now with free delivery and financing on select appliances this holiday at the Home Depot. Offer valid November 6th through December 4th. U.S. only. See store online for details.
Life can be tough, and sometimes it's hard to find someone who will listen. But we want you to know there's always someone you can turn to, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is completely confidential and here for you 24/7 every day of the year. You don't have to struggle alone. Call 988 and let us help. We're here ready to listen because your life matters. Call or text 988 or chat at 988lifeline.org/chat. A message from New Jersey Human Services.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? Ah, sounds like wipers. If your wipers are streaking, skipping, chattering, or even worse, loud, you need to visit AutoZone and get some fresh new blades. We've got basic wipers to get you back on the road, as well as premium blades from Bosch and Rain-X. So if you're hearing this, just head to your nearest AutoZone or AutoZone.com.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Boxing Insider Promotions returns to Tropicana, Atlantic City with another action-packed event you don't want to miss. Saturday, November 16th, inside the Tropicana showroom, you will see 3 of the top boxers from South Jersey in action. Mr. Atlantic City, Justin Figueroa, Absagami High School graduate Bruce Sheldon Jr., and Pleasantville's Francisco Cisco Kid Rodriguez. Watch these undefeated fighters in action on Saturday, November 16th at Tropicana, Atlantic City. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Let's get to Andy McNamara. He's the host of the Sick Podcast. Of course, he joins us each week during the NFL season here on 97.3 ESPN. Andy, appreciate you jumping on. How you doing today, my friend?
Oh, always, my man. Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing all right. And before we get into anything else, so we've been having this conversation this week. Sirianni keeps coming up, right? And George from Summers Point texted into the show, and I want to kind of present to you what George brought up, because I've been talking about this week how this vitriol against Sirianni, like, I'm all for criticizing the guy, right? You know, I ripped the guy when he yelled at the fan. I ripped the guy for using his kids as human shields against the media. You know, I'll rip the guy for not going for the field goal at one point in the game on Sunday when he should have, right? And then finally trotting Jake Elliott out after he had no extra points, no field goals, no nothing the entire game. The guy's got a cold leg. And you say, oh, go out, kick a 59-yard field goal. All right. You know, so like, I'm willing to criticize him for stuff, but I do think that it's over the top at times in this level of like people acting like he's the biggest idiot in the world. And so George from Summers Point brought this up, and I want to ask it to you, Andy. He says, there does seem to be a national media bias against Sirianni. They seem to think of him as less talented and more reactionary than any other coach that you had mentioned, Josh, although I'm not sure where this attitude against him has come from. Then you're talking about, Andy, why is there a bias against Sirianni? And I asked the question, who is the NFC coach you would rather have?
That you want Mike McCarthy, kids? Huh? Is that who you want? National media? You want that guy in there? No. I think largely it becomes a fact that last year was down for Sirianni. There was all the what ifs in the offseason. We spoke about those coming into this year with questionable things that he's done, like the fan yelling, etc. And the national media sometimes, you know, they need someone to pick on. And I guess Sirianni's it. Personally, I'm looking at a team that's 6-2 with a chance to put away the division, put a stamp on it this Sunday. So I'm not sure what the big complaint is, especially with the players having his back, the team having his back, the front office. We talked about that video last week, put out for the fans too. Look, I'm a fan of a team that is hot garbage. Okay. I'd love to have a 6-2
two-time coach of the year too.
Yes. I would love to have a 6-2 problem where I'm like, oh, I'm not sure about the coach. No, Don't be selfish, Eagles fans and national media. Enjoy it. You're 6-2. Sirianni, is he perfect? No. But you're in spots right now to keep up with this division, to take over the Commanders at some point and put the Dallas Cowboys away, your arch rivals, Sunday at 4:25 p.m. right here on 97.3.
So I'll get to the Cowboys because there's a little news that came out this hour about Dak Prescott that I got to ask you about, Andy.
Ooh, okay.
But first, I want to pull up on the screen for you a little peel behind the curtain for those who are watching us on the YouTube, which is, here are my notes from yesterday. So I went and did a little research. So they brought the question up. So Sirianni, if he wins on Sunday, will be 41-19 as an NFL head coach in his first 60 games. The list he is joining, there's only a handful of coaches, Andy, who have ever had at least 40 wins in their first 60 games. Now, George Seifert, he was handed the keys to the kingdom by Bill Walsh. So he wanted to dismiss him.
Sure.
That's fine. But it's Chuck Knox after that. Don Shula, one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yep.
George Allen, one of the greatest coaches of all time. Although I think it's funny he had 3 ties. Started his NFL career.
Yeah. That's kind of funny.
Like, can you imagine the national media today?
Oh.
George Allen ties again.
Not going for it. What a coward. Yeah.
You know? Then you have Matt LaFleur, who has never gotten past NFC Championship game. And then you have the guy that Nick Sirianni would be tied with at 41-19, Sean McVay, who also, by the way, went to a Super Bowl and lost in his second year as an NFL head coach. So when you see Sirianni on that list, help us rationalize why all those guys are them and Sirianni is, well, the idiot.
And now look, you can have the best head coach in the world, and if the team around you or the management doesn't build properly, you're not successful. Notice one notable name that's not on there, Bill Belichick, right?
No.
Arguably yeah, exactly. So you have situations where you need both. So are the Eagles at their core built properly and sound? And I would say yes. I think how it's built, developed, and conducted themselves, they've built a very solid organizational structure. And Sirianni, like we said, is not perfect. I'm sure if we went back in time and we're talking about, George Allen and those 3 ties, you don't think there's some newspaper dude and he was ripping him for taking ties? Yeah.
Right.
I'm not understanding the idiot case, especially when 2 years ago he was a genius. So he was a genius 2 years ago. He was a dummy last year, and now he's kind of in between dummy and not quite genius. So I think it's probably closer to the guy being smart, not a genius, but smart enough to get your team to this record through struggles, Josh. This is the impressive part to me. This Eagles team has not peaked. You can look at, let's say, the Baltimore Ravens. You can say they may have peaked. You can look at other teams. They may have peaked right now. You want to peak when the playoffs are right around the corner. And this Eagles team has a winning record, but hasn't peaked. And that's what should be exciting to Eagles fans, because if you can get on that run now, you start now, hit Thanksgiving, and off you go, then you're in a great spot. So, look, you look at that list. I'm not saying Nick Sirianni is going to be the greatest coach of all time or even a top 5 guy, but who the hell cares if he takes you to a Super Bowl again?
What I think is funny about that list also is that there's one Cleveland head coach on that list.
Schottenheimer.
That's it.
Yep. That's it.
But there's 3 Eagles coaches.
How is Paul Brown not on that? They played fewer games, but still, he coached forever.
Yeah, but that was so long ago. That's part of the stat.
Maybe. Is it within a certain year? Because Paul Brown would definitely be on that.
It's supposed to be the modern era of football.
Oh, okay, yeah. Because he would like clean.
Because I had to partially compile this list. Hembo got us partway there, but I finished the list. I went and
finished the
researched.
list.
Yeah.
You're the closer. You're the Derrick Henry of here. You're the closer.
I was kind of hoping you say more Mariano Rivera, but okay.
Yeah, well, we were talking football. Yeah, go Rivera.
But seriously, let me ask you this, Andy. You see the list in front of you, right?
Yep.
Seifert, Knox, Shula, George Allen, Matt LaFleur, Sean McVay, Marty Schottenheimer, Nick Sirianni is going to be in the middle of that list. And then under Sirianni, Andy Reid, Doug Peterson.
Yep, won a Super Bowl.
So if I can ask you the controversial question, then Are Eagle fans spoiled?
Yes. Yes. You are spoiled right now. Andy Reid was I know it got you to a bunch of the NFC championships, didn't quite get over the hump. You've had really good teams for a long time, okay? Believe me, I would love to have the Eagles' problems. The Browns are trying to build themselves off of the Eagles very poorly, but I would love to have the problem. You're spoiled. Listen, people, believe me, when things eventually go bad, and they will actually go bad, you will want to remember these days. Enjoy them. You're 6-2. Your coach sometimes does dumb things. Oh, well, go win a ball game and beat your arch rival on Sunday. You had Saquon Barkley put on a highlight reel that looked like a Madden glitch last week against the Jags, where you did the spin joystick, then you press circle, and he reverse leapfrogged. I don't know what I still don't know what I was looking at there. And you're complaining about the head coach. Stop it. Enjoy.
Yeah, it's absolutely bonkers. It absolutely is bonkers. Andy McNamara, the host of the Sick Podcast at AndyMC81 on the Twitter X platform, joining us here on 97.3 ESPN. All right, so I mentioned the Cowboys news, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So let me pull that up for you. I'll pop that on the screen for you to see, as well as the YouTubers as well. So Dak Prescott, he ain't playing this Sunday. And there's all this consternation about, are they going to put him on the injured list? What's taking so long, right? Then you get this report from Jane Slater from the NFL, and apparently it's been confirmed by a couple of different people now. So apparently Prescott has a partial avulsion of his hamstring tendon, which apparently means it's partially torn off the bone.
Oh.
So apparently in some cases they quote, and I'm quoting from this report, doctors will let the injury scar over, then repair it, then strengthen it, and it would be a more than 4-week recovery time. But Dallas has not put him on the injured reserve because Prescott is out seeking other opinions. Andy McNamara, I'm sure you have plenty of reaction to this news.
Boy, Josh and listeners, we are so close to a Jerry Jones meltdown. I'm salivating. Like he's already kind of melted down, but we are so close to it. It's a complete collapse and calamity for our own entertainment. You can taste it. This is bizarre. Okay, so I want to know what's the plan if you are the Cowboys? Okay, you're waiting for a second opinion. Do you have to put them on IR anyway? You're going to be, if the Eagles beat you when you have Cooper Rush, and look, Cooper Rush has been serviceable in time.
He has,
but like serviceable in the sense that he's not like, I was trying to think earlier today, like just a dredge of a quarterback. Like I don't know, there's tons of, but like he can get you by a little bit. He's not going to win your game. He can get you by, sort of. But you're going to lose to the Eagles, I feel. Then you're going to be 3-6. You're going to be winless at home. What are you waiting for? Either put him on the IR, or if you have some other, he's looking for a second opinion. What's going to happen with this hamstring? This is going to linger if they don't take care of it. And even then, Josh, okay, so you're 4 weeks out. What are the Cowboys going to be at that point? You're going to be out of the playoff picture anyway. It's just a totally lost year winding up. And it's going to, I think this week puts the stamp on it. That's going to be a lost year for the Cowboys.
Yeah, they are literally having their worst season statistically since 2020, the last time Dak Prescott got injured. And I got to tell you, Andy, so they got the Eagles this week. Then on Monday Night Football, they got the Houston Texans, and Nico Collins is supposed to be back by that game.
Yep.
Then they got to go to Washington before the Thanksgiving game with the Giants. Frankly, Andy, if I'm the Cowboys, because I didn't make any moves at the trade deadline, except for acquiring Mingo, for goodness sake.
Or in the offseason either.
I would just shut down Prescott for the year. And I would just start Trey Lance the rest of the year and just be like, let's see what we got. We acquired him for a reason.
Heck, man, you know what? I didn't even think of that. Look, this guy had all the he still hasn't played. He still only played like a few games since high school. Really? Like, look, you know what? I think maybe we see something like that. If they lose, when I think they will, to the Eagles, put him in. Give him a run. We know Cooper Rush is a fringe NFL backup quarterback. Okay?
Correct.
You You want to play him for this game because you think this game, maybe if you somehow squeak out a win, you can figure out something with that. Okay, I'll listen to that. But once you're out of it, you're right. Play Trey Lance. If he stinks, and he probably will, but if he stinks, all right, he's done. You got him for next to nothing. But if he's good, now we have an interesting conversation. Why not? Josh, if Sam Darnold can be playing as well as he can, anything is possible, kids. Dream big. Anything. If Sam Darnold can be a competent NFL quarterback after never doing that in his life, then why not Trey Lance?
Well, listen, they can steal the Eagles strategy from the early 2000s, with guys like A.G. Feely and Kevin Cobb and all those guys.
Kevin Cobb, oh, man.
They got a second-round pick for Kevin Cobb.
That's a throwback. Yeah.
That trade is nuts. I'll get to that in a second. But, I mean, the Eagles, they had a whole system where they just developed backup quarterbacks, and they said, as like an auctioneer, who needs a quarterback? Like, Dallas could do that with Trey Lance. They could be like, hey, we played Trey Lance for 6 games, and, yeah, we went 3-3 in those 6 games, but he played well. So who wants him?
Look at the QB needy teams out there. Look at
They're
the mistake.
everywhere.
How about the Colts? You just gave up on Anthony Richardson for Joe Flacco, who laid an egg.
Really quick, did you see the report that teams were calling about Anthony Richardson and the Colts said no?
What? Why? I guess it depends what you're actually. Take a fit for him. You ruined the kid anyway. He's done it. He's done in Indy. Wow. They said no. I guess you got to see what the deal was. But man, like that's
what the deal was. I mean,
it doesn't really matter. So these quarterbacks, and it goes back to Tom Brady's comments in the preseason, where he was saying, like, look, colleges aren't developing these guys for the pros. The pros are rushing everybody in, and they're not ready, and it's ruining what would probably be really talented athletes way too soon, and you're giving up on them. So, maybe I just wonder if we'll eventually see a trend back the other way. Maybe not the 3-year sit, but maybe back to a 1-year sit. And you see at the odd time, work for Jordan Love for a couple. Patrick Mahomes, anyone? Right? It worked out. The problem is, Josh, if you're drafting one of these franchise quarterbacks with a top 1, 2, or 3 pick, you need him then. There is no other option. So that's kind of where the problem comes in.
Yeah, well, I think these guys all just need to sit. I think there needs to be a policy.
agree.
Just sit them all for a year. Let them sit there and get some learning.
And you know what? You also need, though, the right system and coaches in place to help them learn. If you're just on a team, you just have them sit there, and some teams would be like that, then that does no good. You need to have that QB whisper. You need to have that working with the guy to actually, what are you learning watching? You can watch all you want. What are you learning to watch? And I don't know how that's done or developed, but we've seen over the years it can really work. And I think that's where you have to start going back to, because you're ruining great athletes. You'll get a Jaden Daniels, you'll get a CJ Stroud, and you get a whole bunch of Bryce Youngs who are taller. Poor Bryce. Oh, how about that German game? Oh, the German. Poor Munich fan. You get Giants, Panthers. Oh, gross. Sleep in, folks.
Yeah, who's gonna be worse, Bryce Young or Daniel Jones?
Oh my God! You know what? I think for fantasy football wise, if you're in a super flex league or if your QB's on bye and you need one, I think Daniel Jones could actually have a decent fantasy day because the Panthers suck. Why not?
Well, they beat the Saints last week.
Yeah. He can run. You know, you got Wandale whipping around out there. Malik, let's go.
Oh my goodness!
What a mess.
At AndyMC81 on the Twitter X platform. Andy, tell the folks what you got going on Sunday with the Sick Podcast.
Yeah, we are live 10 a.m. Eastern on YouTube, The Sick Podcast with Andy McNamara on X as well, at Sick Pod Browns, at AndyMC81. Browns are off this week, so it's all fantasy football, all parlay party, all bets. We'll go through in real time. Starts, sits, injuries coming in. Take your questions live in the chat and on social media, so get in, join. It's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, you got the Browns on the bye week this Sunday, and I got the Eagles versus Cowboys with not one but 2 events. I'm working in the same day on Sunday.
You're 2 events. You're doing the old 80s wrestling where they had a double dip, a matinee and an evening on Sunday. You're doing the Hulks, you're double dip, Connecticut and Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, I got to start ripping shirts,
Yeah. Is that 2 like sports bars type of thing?
Yeah, I'll be at La Scala's in Brigantine with the Locker with Billy Schwein from 10 a.m. to noon in the morning.
Okay.
And then I got to drive up to Tuckerton at Doyle's Poorhouse where we're doing the Eagles-Cowboys watch party. So.
Oh. Well, long day, but that's fun. I like those. I like those type of remotes where you kind of hunker in and you get all the fans in the atmosphere. That's fun.
Yeah, I'll be out mingling with the people. So.
Mingling with the people, with the civilians, right?
Andy, I appreciate you jumping on, my friend.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon.
All right, we're wrapping up the show here on 97.3 ESPN. It's hard to squeeze everything into a power hour. It's hard, man. It's a dirty job, but someone's got to do it. All right, we got Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Sixers are in Los Angeles, take on the Cavs tonight. You can hear that game right here on 97.3 ESPN. I'll be back tomorrow with another edition of Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, following Mike Gill live at Chickies and Pete's for the Sports Bash. Yeah, I'll be out and about on Sunday. So you want to come out to the locker room with Billy Schweim in the morning. We'll be at La Scala's and Brigantine getting you ready for the Eagles-Cowboys game, and then I'll be driving the 97.3 truck up the Parkway to Doyle's Poorhouse in Tuckerton. We got some great prize giveaways coming up this Sunday at Doyle's Poorhouse. Tuckerton, you got to be there present halftime of the game. I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great night, everybody.
It's Sixers basketball tonight on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the Sixers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Maxey for three for the left side, and that's good. Maxey found the space, back-to-back threes. He's got 31.
It's Sixers Clippers tonight. Coverage begins at 10 p.m. It's Sixers basketball all season long on South Jersey's radio home for Philadelphia 76ers basketball. 97.3 ESPN.
If fashion is your thing, eBay is it. eBay's where I find all my favorites, from handbags to iconic streetwear, all authenticated. For real. This time, a little Supreme, some Gucci. I even have that vintage Prada on my watch list. That's why eBay's my go-to for all my go-tos. Yeah, eBay, the place for new, preload,